Hey, all, welcome to the Common Good Podcast. It's Tuesday. I know this one, Rob. It's Tuesday, August 1st. It's already August.
Yeah.
Those of you waiting for, the summer to just get out of your way, well, it's happening. Those of you that are supposed to pay payroll on August 1st and you don't have the money, not your day. But you hang in there. You do what you can. Hey, all, from Minneapolis, where it is just, around here we brag about the summer. We act like we live in one of those places, Rob, where we act like, if you want to talk about Minnesota, you should talk about our weather in the summer. And everybody's like, no, I talk about weather in February. And we're like, no, that's not our greatest feature. Our greatest feature is summer. Yeah. And it's because of days like today. Just spectacular. Spectacular. How are things squirreled away outside of Fayetteville?
Hot. Very, very hot. And we've hit the August time now where, you look at your weather app and you see, it's 74 outside. First thing in the morning, you get up to take your daughter to camp and you think, it's 74 outside. It's going to be beautiful. And you walk out. It might be 74, but it feels like 106 with, 100% humidity. And it's just a cruel thing. So we're in the midst of the very hot season, and Vanessa's beginning to be worried about her garden because it's been a while since it rained, and so
are you not waterers? Are you not people that stand out with hoses and sprinklers and pump the water from the places where it's needed so your garden can flourish? Is that just us?
No, we water.
Okay.
Yeah, we actually, part of the summer project has been thinking about and figuring out a way to put in some kind of, sprinkler, not sprinkler system, but some kind of,
irrigation
system. Yeah. Well, do it yourself kind of thing.
The person that I live with runs our garden. This is Shelly, my wife, and I did it again this year, and I got maybe I was a little more direct on like, hey, why don't we set up some sprinklers and some soakers in these little raised garden beds, so you don't have to stand out here watering the garden?
Yeah.
And she was like, because I like watering the garden. I like doing this. It's relaxing. I have a chance to look at the garden. I can see the things while I have a hose in I like it. Yeah. And I just despise it so much. I'm like, any solution to not having to be out of the garden.
We got to automate this thing. We got to figure out a way to automate this thing. But I will
say
you
this, don't have to do it. And she's like, no, I want to do it. And therein lies the human condition.
The big exciting thing in our garden this year is at Halloween last year came and went. And then, sometime, Thanksgiving came and went. Sometime mid-December, entirely too late, we decided, it probably ought to be time to take the pumpkins off the front porch. And we just,
totally.
sometime in mid-January.
Same thing. Oh, yeah.
So we just put the pumpkins out, by the back fence and just let them be. Doug?
No.
We have a pumpkin growing in our backyard, and it's big. It's like the size of a volleyball. Yeah, super excited about that.
Well, how about that? Accidental garden.
Yeah, very excited about the pumpkin.
It didn't even need you taking care of it. No worrying. No sending good vibrations.
Let that. I have strict orders of how to mow around it. Because I occasionally will,
run over the raspberry bush.
Yeah.
And
I don't know if you've done that before, Doug.
Every once in a while, Shelly hears that weed whacker, that trimmer going, and she's freaking out. And she's like, "Do not go cut. Yes. You don't know the difference between a weed and a raspberry bush." And I'm like, maybe I don't.
This is true. And I feel like Vanessa just makes up words and like. And they, are plant names. Like she'll just say, "Oh, that's a, lantana. I'm like, you just
Yeah.
made that up. That's not a word.
That's just a Latin phrase. He's just picking Latin botany sounding phrases. Hey,
Seriously.
we had a little
Listen, let
conversation
me.
the other day on our
Yeah.
walk about the difference between a weed and a plant. And
Oh,
I
it's
contend the difference is just if you want it or not. I think
yes,
that's it.
totally. Yes.
That's the difference. It's
Yes.
yeah. There is no actual difference between. Now, again, I'm someone who doesn't garden, doesn't know anything about it. I should stop saying things, but that's what I feel like the difference between a weed and a garden is that. And we hope that this little podcast and live stream for people is a luscious, full garden
Yeah. Listen,
and
Doug,
not
let me
just a
tell you
patch of
what's
weeds coming in
let
your
me,
ears.
let me tell you what's happening here in Arkansas, since it's our
Okay.
political podcast. So, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, who's our governor,
Yeah. Congratulations, by the way.
oh,
Oh, I'm sorry for your
yeah,
loss. I
yeah.
never know which way to go on
Somebody
this.
tweeted the other day, like, do you ever think that like we could have had Chris Jones as our governor? And I retweeted and said, every
Yes,
damn
yes, Mrs.
day, I think
Jones.
about
I think that very same
it. Yeah.
thing. So,
Oh, every damn day. So, um, Sarah Huckabee Sanders' signature piece of legislation in the last legislative session was an education bill called Learns,
hmm.
um, and it essentially um, guts public education,
Oh,
creates a voucher system, creates a mechanism by which for-profit organizations can take over public schools.
sure.
Um, it includes a teacher pay raise, but one that is like in the short term, teachers are going to be paid a little bit more. In the
Good,
long
good.
term, yes,
Oh,
absolutely. In the long term, we'll actually cap teacher pay at what they're raising it to. It's a
oh, I see.
mess in
Yeah.
it's a mess in a lot of ways, and so this Learns Act was passed by the supermajority in Little Rock and signed into law by Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Um, Arkansas has there's just a number of things that are just horrible about this law. Um, Arkansas has a mechanism by which laws that are passed by the legislature can be challenged by the people and can actually
Oh,
be put on the ballot. Um, and it's essentially it's a kind of a people's veto, for lack of a better
really?
phrase.
Like a
And
referendum thing on an
yes,
existing law? There's an existing law
yes,
in place, and if you don't like it, you can do a referendum like project? Wow.
yes,
Hey,
yep.
Arkansas, way to
So,
go.
a group of really dedicated folks began the process of making that happen. Um, they they have to collect 54,000 signatures in
Right.
at least 50 of Arkansas's
Nice.
75 counties,
Okay.
which there's a whole caveat there, but uh, and uh, and have 90 days to do it. The Attorney General took uh, a really significant amount of time kind of approving the title for the ballot initiative. And so what should have been 90 days to collect signatures turned into 55 days to collect signatures, collect 54,000 signatures in
Wow.
50 different states. Deadline was 5 o'clock yesterday, 5 p.m. yesterday.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. July
And
31st seems like a perfect time. Close of business day, July 31st. Classic. And
Doug,
boy, the drama is building, Rob.
well,
And
I think we did it. I think we squeaked in by the skin of our teeth. So what's happened? So it's close. I was actually on the phone this morning. So this has been spearheaded by a group called CAPES, Citizens and Parents for Arkansas Education and Students, or something. I should probably know what CAPES
yeah,
stands
they're
for. Um, yeah. Um, but I was on the phone this morning with. Thank you. Thank you, Yavitz, for noticing that I'm related to Ned Ryerson. That's actually the case. Uh, So we should do a deep dive sometime on Ryersons in film because it's interesting. I'm
Yeah,
not
which
super.
really
Yeah,
sounds
not
very just thrilling
that's not
for maybe
super
the
interesting.
for maybe
Oh, it would take about 4 minutes.
the Ryerse
So
family
yeah, so
podcast would be
now
just great.
yeah, so now the Secretary of State is counting this. They're going to do a quick count of the signatures
Yeah.
and make sure that there's kind of within the within the amount that we need, um, and then they'll go through and what's called cure the signatures, basically qualifying them, making sure that they're correct. Now, what's really interesting is during that time that they are curing the signatures, we can collect more signatures and turn
Oh,
those in. So it's a little bit. I've been describing it's a little bit like stoppage time in soccer,
sure.
where
Yeah. Okay.
like the game's still going and the game's still being played, but you have no idea when it's going to end. Like
Hmm.
that's I think really one of the weaknesses of soccer. But so we're going to have that
That's your
opportunity.
issue with
So
soccer is that they add on
it's one
extra
of them.
time instead of having
Oh,
timeouts.
Oh,
That's
it's
your
one
thing.
of them.
That's
It's
your
one
thing.
of them.
Okay.
It's yeah, pretty significant. And so it is, Doug. We are either going to squeak this thing out by the skin of our teeth, or we're going to just miss, and it's going to be heartbreaking. There's news reports out there that we came up a little less than 500 votes short, or 500 signatures short. Those news reports are erroneous, and
Ooh,
ooh,
fake news
yeah. But
coming out of
it's
Arkansas.
but I'll tell you what, we're a year and a half, we're a year and a quarter away from an election. This is the summer of an off year,
Yes, that's true. And you got fifty three
and
thousand five hundred signatures, which is great. Nice try.
there's an there's an army of people. It reminds me a little bit. Remember when Kansas voted on making sure
The abortion bill, yeah.
that women had the opportunity to get abortion health care if they needed it. Um, and it kind of shocked the country of like, whoa, wait a minute, there's something happening here in Kansas. It feels a little bit like that this is an opportunity for Arkansas to kind of shock the world. So it's been exciting, it's been fun, it's been exhausting, but we've had a lot going down here in Arkansas. It's been I'll keep you posted, but we'll
Yeah,
know in a
look.
couple of days if we go into stoppage time or not.
Well, hey, on that little note, I saw a news story today that the top notch world class United States World Cup soccer team
Yeah.
barely squeaked one out. They've become the Arkansas of women's World Cup, and of course, dominating in success compared to the men of the United States, and until recently paid a fraction of the amount. But are you following the World Cup soccer at all? Do you keep up on any of this? They barely squeaked by like Venezuela. No, they barely squeaked by Taiwan. No, I don't know, some other country. They barely squeaked by, and now had a tie, and just barely got into the knockoff round. So apparently they're in a little trouble. But they could be the comeback story. Yeah, next to Arkansas public signature story, this could be the drama of August. I mean, the two could sort of be neck and neck. Be checking your app.
I mean, like Barbie and Oppenheimer.
The blockbuster political and cultural stories of the day.
Yeah.
Wait, but all the best to the successful team
Yeah.
from the United States
You
in
know,
the World Cup.
I'm not a huge soccer fan, but I have a daughter who loves to play soccer, and
Hmm.
so the women's national team was coming to Kansas City to play a friendly or whatever against, I don't know, some other country, and so I took Whimsy and we went and watched the women's national team play, and Wims turned to me about halfway through the game and said, "They're really good." Like Yeah, they are. They are really, really good. It was a really enjoyable experience.
She knows it. She
Mm.
knows. Well, I told you I extolled the pleasure of the WNBA basketball game that I went to, didn't I? Did I tell you about that? A
Sure.
couple of weeks ago, I went to a Lynx game and
Fantastic.
sat right on the court. My feet were out off,
Yeah.
not
I
inside the
mean,
playing lines, but right on the
that,
court baseline.
I mean, they just invite
Tremendous.
everybody down, don't they?
No. These are very elite tickets. Not everybody could come down. There had to be half a dozen people sitting well behind us. Yeah, no, it was a very small crowd. But we
Yeah.
did have seats there on the floor. But it was so fun. It was just nothing but downright enjoyable. And I feel the same way about tennis. Women's tennis is just so much more enjoyable to watch. And obviously, I'm not the sports fan that the advertisers want. I don't care generally about them, and I mostly mock it. So I'm probably not the right person. But women's sports overall, in my mind, are so enjoyable, and more so than the men's.
I had the chance a couple years ago to go see the University of Arkansas women's volleyball team, and we sat right on the court in really comfortable chairs, and wow, was that a shocking amount of fun! Like had no idea it would be nearly as much fun as it was, but wow, we had a blast. It was so
Great.
great.
Well, should we get to some more national politics? All right. Last week there was a little bit of kerfluffle and concern in the voice of Robb Ryerse, and therefore in the ears and the hearts of the millions who pay attention to this, that maybe Hunter Biden is going to be the Watergate to Joe Biden. That it's going to be this slow creeping thing. And I have a friend that's my weather vane on this, and he sends me. We text regularly about all of this, and he sent me a note on Friday that said Monday is the day. Monday we're going to hear it all.
Yep.
And then on Monday morning he said today's the day. Smoking gun. And then he sent me
Devin Archer.
an article, about Devin Archer, the business associate of Hunter Biden, who apparently was called before one of the committees in the House in a closed door committee and talked about what he knows. And this was the big release. Hunter Biden has been involved with his business partner, and they brought Joe Biden in, and he told the truth. He spilled the beans. He pointed to the crimes, and then turns out nothing. Once again, this Congressman Comer and jacketless Jim Jordan. It's like like shoeless Joe Jackson.
Jacketless Jim
We should,
Jordan.
we should really. How
Why
did we
have
miss that?
Not gotten to that.
Oh my God, that's
before?
unbelievable.
Oh.
But yeah, that's just really a sign that we don't know what we're doing. That it took this long to get to that. They had their committee, and then they went on Sean Hannity's television program last night. And I saw a clip of that this morning, and with the shakiness of my iPhone, I recorded my computer screen. And here it is. So this is Comer and Jim Jordan on Sean Hannity, where Sean Hannity is saying to them, "Okay, you've had this big hearing. Can we now say that this is officially the bribery scandal of Joe Biden?" Like trying to brand it, right? Like here it is. Joe Biden is clearly, and here is Comer, the guy who's been leading the drum circle on this thing the entire time. And here they are.
Do you believe that this is now officially the Joe Biden bribery allegation? And do you believe that you will be able to prove that? Jim Comer.
I sure hope so. And I do believe that there's a lot of smoke. And when there's smoke, there's fire. We just heard testimony today that Joe Biden had lied to the American people.
So is this now officially? You've had this hearing. You got the guy you wanted. You brought him in. Can we now declare this to be the Joe Biden bribery scandal? Well, I sure hope so. What else are you waiting for? This was it. This was the whole dealio. I sure hope so. I mean, who knows? But, hope lives on eternal. And then he literally says, and maybe this is because Comer is just a bad communicator, right? Maybe
Yes.
jacketless Jim Jordan is sitting next to him, just ready to pounce with a better response. But the guy who's leading it, which is Comer, says, well, there's a whole lot of smoke. Okay, look, if you're trying to say there is a case to be brought against Joe Biden's, you say there is fire. We are following the smoke right to the fire. Instead, he says, I hope so. There's a lot of smoke. And Joe Biden lied to the American people. I mean, with a straight face.
Yeah.
Joe Biden lied to the American people. Now, Rob, as it turns out, Devin Archer, which cannot be his real name, that has got to be a made-up name from when he was a kid, right? I mean, it sounds like either a supervillain or a 1950s cartoon character who solves crime. Devin Archer. That Devin Archer testified, yeah, Joe Biden would get on phone calls and chat it up with, business associates about like the weather and what's going on and just saying, hey, and because his son keeps friggin' calling him and he's trying to help his son out. And Hunter just would try to make himself look bigger because of who his dad was. He's just trying to brag on who the family is. Never talked about any business, never did any of that stuff. There was never any involvement. Now, should Joe Biden have found better ways to be involved with his son? Yeah, quite likely. Doesn't seem like Hunter Biden has ever been somebody who's all that trustworthy. Setting aside his art acumen that the Ryerses have appreciated and started bidding on to try to outbid a 5-year-old in Oklahoma.
7-year-old Arkansas.
Setting, is it Arkansas?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Setting that aside.
Hey, listen, Arkansas is the center of the political world these days. Joe Biden's 7th grandchild lives here.
Yeah. It's the center of it all. So anyway, all that to say, look, I am again just confident as can be. How long is this going to go? Well, you know how long it's going to go on. Forever. Do you know how we know it's going to go on forever? Because this is how I know. Exactly. Because in my text messages from my friend Casey, it's things like wiped the server. Hey, one other note that we didn't bring up. Did you apply or have you yet applied for your share of the Facebook monies that are being paid to members of Facebook, users of Facebook, because of the Cambridge Analytica problem?
No.
Do you know about this?
I mean, I love stuff like this, but no,
Oh, yeah. Well, I should send it to you. You go online,
Yeah,
you fill
please
out
do.
a form, a government form, and you verify your name and your user ID on Facebook and that you used Facebook between whatever it is, 2015 and 2017, something like that. And there's some big settlement, $270 million or something. And so it could be 17 to 20 cents sent to each of us in a check.
Great. Nice.
Based on Cambridge Analytica. Okay, so the same friend of mine sent me this thing and said, hey, by the way, have you done, because we talk about lots of other stuff in addition to this.
Yeah.
I said, yeah. I said, no, I haven't. And then I said, well, that's the Cambridge Analytica thing that has to do with the Trump campaign working with Facebook to steal people's data. And he's like, unbelievable. You think this is about Trump? I'm like, yeah. No, this is literally about Trump too.
It actually
like
is.
this too. His criminality just spills over, and the criminality of the campaign. I know I sound like a wackadoodle because every time I can be like, yeah, that too was Donald Trump. He had his fingers in it. It's just ultimately remarkable. But anyway, you can fill it out. I did it simply because I want Facebook, even if they're going to have to give me 7 cents, I just want to be somehow part of them having to pay a price for what they did in pushing data and pushing content in 2016 and 2015 to people that they had no business pushing it to, and putting a person from Facebook on the Trump staff team to run the Cambridge Analytica stuff. Like the way they consorted in that campaign was unbelievable because they thought that they could really drive a lot of Facebook users. I mean, that was Facebook's ostensibly that was their purpose. But anyway, that's still happening and going on. So if you're watching this on Facebook, friends, just know you can get a little bit of money from Facebook
money
for
coming
their,
your way. Yeah.
for their crimes.
you get those little postcards in the mail or whatever about like, you could be a part of a class action lawsuit. I always fill those out. Love them.
Really?
Love them. Love. Oh yeah. I love
Huh.
getting that $26 check in the mail. I have, there was one with Apple where Apple cords were shorting and I had to replace my cord 3 different times. And I got like $79 in the mail 3 times for that one. Yeah,
Really?
good stuff.
It's like
Oh,
free
yeah.
cords.
Oh, just yeah. And
Is there a clearinghouse for these things? Is there a place you can go and just see here's all the like the coupon websites that
I
just
don't
has
know.
all
They just come in the mail, a little like real easy like to throw away as junk mail, but I always open those things up and get to the website and fill out whatever I got to do. And yeah. And then completely forget about it. And then, 6 months later, a $17 check shows up and you're like, bonus, that's
bonus.
great.
Because you filled out the paperwork. Life is won by those who fill out the paperwork.
Yeah. Doug,
But anyway, there's one awaiting you, Rob Ryerse.
Yeah,
There's
I understand that when we talk about my concern with the Hunter Biden, Joe Biden stuff, I'm concerned about like the reality of what took place and if there was anything that nefarious that went on, whether intentional or not, inappropriate or not. Do we think that Hunter Biden acted with high ethics and integrity all the time? I'm like,
can't imagine so, but I don't know the man.
Right.
But from what I know, nope.
Everything you just described about, setting aside the cocaine use and, the laptop, all the pictures on the laptop or, all the pictures in the congressional record, thanks to Marjorie Taylor Greene. Setting all of that aside, even what you just said about like Hunter Biden is, thinking about how to puff himself up and look bigger and getting his dad on the phone. Hunter Biden, I have no doubt in my mind that he did things inappropriate, did things that are unethical, did things that very well might have violated some kind of law, or
he is charged with crimes and is trying to plead guilty to them. So that is demonstrably true.
But to think that he might not accidentally exposed his father to that kind of stuff.
Sure.
And listen, Joe Biden might have plausible deniability, for whatever reason, but at some point, it gets tough. I am not done worrying about this. I think I understand that, they're like, we sure hope so. And jacketless Jim Jordan is just, blowing smoke that, they're now attributing to the Bidens. But I'm not done worrying. This might become a weekly, let not your heart be troubled.
Yeah,
my heart is troubled. My heart continues to be troubled about how Hunter Biden might bring down Joe Biden, a shockingly effective president.
Yeah, yeah, it could happen. Seems like if it was going to, we would be we'd be up on it by now. Hey, but speaking of presidents coming down and falling all apart, that's just a soccer team. The Trump committee, presidential Trump committee, is nearly broke.
Yeah, it's the Save America PAC.
So they put together a PAC, and out of the PAC, the PACs are allowed, apparently by all kinds of decided law, that they can spend money on legal fees that impact the candidates or the policies that they want to support, which seems, let's not get into the nonsense that is campaign finance reform that came out of the early 2000s, because it's such a silly
just want to say one thing.
Waste. I'm just going to talk in between your sentences. about what nonsense campaign finance reform has turned out to be. It's just made the world worse. We should do a whole segment on it. Go ahead.
Cannot pay for child care or health insurance for a candidate, but you can pay for their legal services.
Yes. You can pay for their legal services and those around them. You can pay for their legal fees. It's almost as if the people who put the campaign finance rules together were first and foremost concerned about lawyers. Yeah. Hey, let's make sure lawyers can get paid. So the Trump PAC, or the PAC supporting the Trump ideology, has been raising hundreds of millions of dollars. And they're spending it on lawyers to defend Trump and his crowd.
A PAC is a political action committee. And there are different kinds of them. There's what's called super PACs, and then there's coordinated PACs, federal PACs. There's hybrid PAC. There's a whole thing. It's super complicated, but one of them that is associated with the Trump campaign, the Save America PAC, it's collected money and spent that money not on normal things that you do for. I'm the executive director of a PAC currently. I have been the executive director of a PAC previously. You raise money and you spend it on things like candidate support, training, paying salaries for your team, advertising, marketing, data gathering and analytics, not Cambridge Analytica, but advocating for issues that matter to you. Doug, I have spent PAC money on legal fees. Those have gone to the PAC lawyer who represents us and helps make sure everything we do is legal. Never once have we paid legal fees in defense of
criminal defense attorneys are not the people that you've been paying. When you've been paying lawyers' fees, it's been for paperwork and consulting and so on. Not criminal defense attorneys. Well, you need to catch up, my man. I mean, seriously. The new PACs, the big PACs, the hundreds of millions of dollars PACs. Yeah. Oh, apparently that's how they spend their money. And the thing about it, if you have friends and family that are in this world, the thing about it is, this is primarily small dollar donors, which again, the PAC data says that the majority of their money comes from small dollar donors. And again, we've created this context in politics. I'm just going to rant for a couple of minutes here about campaign finance reform that has put now the pressure on small dollar donations coming in repeatedly from wide ranges of people. Some people think that's a great idea. They think it's better for democracy. I think we now have about 20 years of data, and I can't imagine anyone has said to themselves, oh, you know what? The way we finance campaigns now, way better than what we did before the McCain-Feingold campaign finance corrections took place.
But how we finance campaigns is not driven by McCain-Feingold. It's driven by Citizens United decision by the Supreme Court.
Well, yeah, that's one of them. Yeah, I mean that was a piece of it. But I think the larger, I could be wrong. We should get there's probably people that are professionals in this history on. You know what it reminds me of? Do you remember when Congress passed some really great law that wanted to make sure that our data on websites was safe and secure, and they passed that big act? So now every time you go to a website you haven't been on before, you have to click a box at the bottom that say I accept the terms and conditions. That's what came out of that brilliant legislation to protect us, was that you have to click on a box. So if you're like, why do I always have to keep clicking these boxes? Because when a website puts itself out there in the world or does a reorganization of their website, it makes you re-up your cookies and re-up your, you're going to share the data so you can move forward. All this money spent, all so that what comes out of it at the end, a greater level of irritation for people. Nobody's data is protected. No, Rob, let me just ask you this. Have you ever once gone to a website and had the little banner pop up on the bottom, whether it's on your phone or your laptop or your iPad, and said, no, I'm not
No.
going to accept No,
No.
because you went to the website.
I don't say no to cookies. That's basically. I think
Yeah.
that's the.
You're
That's the
basically a Sesame Street character and you don't
Yeah,
say no to
that's right.
cookies? Yeah. Look, it's just something else, right? And this is what's happened with this. I'm not saying that changes didn't need to be made to how campaigns were financed. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that what we've done to correct how we finance campaigns is silly nonsense, and it has ruined the political system.
Yes. Can we
The
talk?
solution became the problem. And that is not a comment about the vaccine. Or where they always say that the solution is worse than the problem. That was the big thing that they did.
So
with
talking about
COVID.
silliness and the Save America PAC and how they've spent the money, it's not just on legal fees for Donald
No.
Trump and his associates. They have also apparently paid over $108,000. Here, the latest round of FEC disclosures showed the Save America PAC, the leadership PAC supporting former President Donald Trump's campaign, continued to burn through tens of millions of dollars on his legal fees for his various indictments and other entanglements with the judicial system. But that wasn't the only eye-popping number in the reports. The PAC also paid over $108,000 for strategy consulting to
I love it.
Harvey Pierre Braillard for the first 6 months of 2023.
$108,000 for a consultant for 6 months. And what
That
did this
number
person
might not
consult
seem
on?
seem all that odd for a presidential campaign, especially in comparison to Trump's former campaign manager, Brad Parscale, who was ousted from his perch after a series of revealing reports about
think
how
you're
he was
reading this.
handsomely profiting from the campaign. But yes, I am reading this. But Braillard isn't a political consultant. He's a French-American fashion designer who has been Melania Trump's stylist for years, designing the gown she wore to her husband's inaugural ball in January 2017.
I feel like you're going to still wait. So you're saying that this PAC that's nearly out of money has taken small dollar donations from
And they have
salt of the
paid
earth Americans all over the country, have paid
Melania-
$108,000 in 6 months to Melania's
stylist.
stylist. I mean, the grift is just unbelievable with these people.
It is deep.
Literally, this is Donald Trump who used a nonprofit foundation that he said existed to pay for Eric Trump's Boy Scout fees. $17. Didn't even pay that out of his own dwindling bank account when his kids were little. Been taking money from those kinds of organizations his entire public life. And now not spending his own money to defend himself due to his own behavior, and not spending his own money so that his wife's fashion can be updated, which might be something someone chooses to spend their money on. I think it would be a ridiculous thing, but in an economy of our size, who cares? But they're not spending their own money.
No.
They're not even spending money that is earned by the failing businesses they own. They're taking money from the PAC, for the money that people are giving because they feel like America is at risk and they really do want to save America from the worries that were given to them by the John Birch Society that the communists are coming to take your America away in 1959. That same crowd of people are still telling them, look out for the communists. Look out for the fascists. They're coming to take your America, and they're called Democrats. They're giving money to stop that. And what are they spending the money on? Fashion stylists. And you know what the worst thing is, Rob? People that wrote that check will read that and think, well, she does deserve to look nice. They don't care. I mean, this is the thing. We call it a grift. Everybody would call it a grift. But the donors, they don't care. They're like,
Yes.
this is all. I'm all in. You know, if
I
I
have a
could chip
fam-
in to make Melania look even more ravishing, oh, well, by golly, I will ravish her up.
I don't know about that. I have a family member who referred to Melania Trump as the classiest first lady we've ever had. Yeah, they're like it's the grift is deep and strong with these ones for
We,
sure.
with these ones, I saw that was a Star Wars reference. Hey, in Georgia, we're about to get some news too. I don't know if it's going to happen today, but you know, Funny Willis, who's the
Barricades are set up and ready to go. Have you seen those pictures?
is that a football joke? No.
No,
What
no,
is
no,
that?
no, no. They around the courthouse. They sometime late last week they set up a perimeter around
Oh,
the courthouse in preparation
really?
for the big news. Yeah,
I mean, talk about trying to find a reason to pay overtime. What are they doing that a week ahead of time? What?
yeah, it's good to be prepared.
Yeah, okay. Okay. Well, apparently, Fonnie Willis, who's the district, the DA there in just little Fulton County, is the one that has to respond to the President of the United States trying to interfere with the Secretary of State in the certifying of federal votes for federal office, which does seem a little odd that it falls to poor Fonnie Willis on this. But she said August, and by golly, when that clock turned to 12:01 a.m. Eastern time overnight, there were people like, "Do you think she's released anything? Refresh, refresh, refresh. Are we going to get it?" How do you feel about this one, Rob? Do you think this is going to? I'm not asking you if you think it's going to change any hearts and minds of Trump supporters, but do you think it's going to have any great impact? Do you have any sense?
I think it just continues to feed the narrative that we're dealing with someone who is a criminal, and I think the Georgia case might be the most difficult to prove because you know a I don't I obviously haven't seen the evidence, but being saying that Donald Trump saying to the Secretary of State, or we need to I need you to find me 11,760 votes, or was that the number? I should know this based on the
Yeah.
picture, but um and the picture I refer to is the little meme I made of Donald Trump that I post every time he's indicted, which gets
Which is
Trump
like a
support.
mug shot. You've crafted up a fake mug shot with him holding a card that has his criminal
11
number being 11,007, whatever the number of votes he said that he gave.
11,760. Yeah, which is the number of votes he
760
said.
votes.
Yeah. So
That's
I don't
that's
know.
his inmate number.
Yeah, I think of all the cases, this is the weakest one because it feels like what he said could be open to interpretation. It's not the clear cut black and white of this, these taxes were supposed to be filed and paid and they weren't, and you inflated your numbers here and deflated your numbers there, like the New York case is, where it's very like it's black and white, it's in the numbers, it's in the spreadsheet. It's not like the case that Jack Smith has brought against the former president in Florida, where you've got evidence of here's the law, here's the request for you to return these documents. You clearly had the document, you kept the documents after that request, they were subpoenaed, you showed the documents to people, here's video footage of you moving the documents, like in your boxes, because you got to go through your boxes with your pants, and that's very black and white, it's very clear. Even the January 6th stuff that we're going to see, I think, is going to be much clearer. Where I think you're going to see communication, like lines of communication and coordination, with full knowledge of supporting the insurrection, and I think that's going to be clear. This is one. Now, did Donald Trump try to influence the election? Did he try to, influence in a corrupt way an elected official who is counting the results of an election? Yes. Is it like cut and dry and easy to prove? I'm not so sure about that.
My suspicion is it's going to feel like the most cut and dry when they get done with it.
Really?
This is what I think. I think Fani Willis has spent time interviewing not just Donald Trump on that one phone call, on multiple phone calls. I think they've interviewed Lindsey Graham. We know that they've interviewed Rudy Giuliani. We know that they've interviewed a number of the fake electors in Georgia who also had conversations with Trump. And I think they're going to put all of that communication and all of that testimony together, and they're going to be able to say, it is very clear that Donald Trump personally tried to use his power as the president to influence elected officials to do something that Donald Trump and his associates understood not to be legal. I think it's going to be, now whether people care about that, right?
Yeah.
Whether they say it shouldn't be illegal because you're just contesting an election, we can't make it illegal to contest an election, which is going to be, just trust me, this is going to be the response from the MAGA crowd to January 6th and to Georgia's indictments, if they do both come, maybe this same week. It's going to be people saying you can't criminalize the contesting of an election. This was all happening within a period of time when that's what we do, is wait to certify the elections. Like, elections are not called because a news office says, straight from the news desk, we here at Fox News say that Joe Biden won Arizona. Yeah, that doesn't make anything. No. That is a fan from the back of the stands yelling down on the field. That's all that ever is.
Yep.
So there's a period of time. So I think the argument's going to be they were doing what you do, and they were doing it more publicly, but this is what goes on all the time. Check these things, verify them. That's going to be their argument. And then I think Fani Willis is going to be able to say, the things you did were these, pick your number, whatever it's going to be, 5, 7, 11, 14 things. And those actions are criminal actions. And I think it's going to be so clear that Donald Trump did this illegal thing and that illegal thing and this other illegal thing. And that's where the charges are going to lie. So that's my hope. If it turns out to be something a little bit more like a cheap hit so if you borrow a football analogy, which is rarely ever useful, but in football, you tackle people, right? That's what you do. But if you tackle people in a certain way, or if you tackle people at a certain time, or if you tackle a certain player in a certain way at a certain time, that's illegal, right? So there's free play, but then there's things that are illegal in the game of football, which is the same actions or similar actions done in a different way. Spearing with your head, or hitting someone from behind, or
quarterback with your full weight.
This kind of thing.
Yeah.
So if what it turns out to be
becomes a judgment call of the referee, like, did he intend to land his full weight on the quarterback, or did he try to roll off and pretend?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
That I didn't know that was a rule, that if you tackle someone, quarterback, you can't use your full weight when you tackle the quarterback.
Yeah, you can't like land on them, smash them, try to pancake them. You have to.
A running back, on the other hand, or a receiver.
Yes, destroy them.
Lights out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's how this could turn in a lot of people's minds. If it feels like it's that, hey, this is generally legal, but you used your full weight. You, as president, you can't use your full weight. Like, that's a great analogy. Then I think we're going to be in trouble. But I think there's little doubt in my mind that someone like Fani Willis, who has a reputation to keep and has no benefit coming to her in this at all.
True. Yeah.
If she's not staring at evidence that moves it beyond the judgment call of the ref, that sure, what you did, you can do, but you just can't do it like you did it. If she's not staring at something more severe than that, well, then this will just slide away. My guess is she's got some she knows some things. There's some people who know some things, and she's somebody who knows some things. That's my guess. And the other problem with this is similar to the New York case, and that is that what Alvin Bragg was looking at, to Alvin Bragg, is like, oh, this isn't a judgment call. This is a crime.
Right.
But to non-lawyers, they're like, what? That seems like it's a judgment call. Like, I don't know. It's like, really? That's well, in our world, we know crimes, and this is a crime. But if it doesn't feel like a crime to your average person, now, again, it doesn't need to for political purposes, because these are not political prosecutions. It only needs to for a jury.
Yes, but in the court of public opinion, that there certainly is that sense of how it feels. And and if they're like, I mean, for better or for worse, unbelievably, Donald Trump's a former president of the United States.
Yes.
And all of this needs to be, we poke some fun at him, and more
As
than
we
our
should,
fair
because
share.
the man keeps his pants in a box.
Seriously. But
and literally doesn't have time to go through them. I mean, he needed time to go through his boxes.
Yeah.
With his pants. His pants boxes. I've literally had shirts in a box. That's a thing you can even order from, if you take a nice shirt into a dry cleaner, they'll say, would you like that in a box or would you like that in a hanger? I don't even know if they ask you that about your pants. I don't know if there's a pants box, let alone a banker's box. But anyway, well, back to because I'm still deep in Mar-a-Lago's bathroom right now looking through boxes in my imagination.
This stuff has to be indisputably clear.
Yeah.
It's gotta, it can't be, it can't feel at all like a judgment call.
Yeah.
It, like, if the NFL has to come out after the game and issue a statement saying that the referees made the right call, that's a loss. Like, you need to make, like, it needs to be so clear.
Yes.
And listen, I'm predisposed to believe that it is, but I also recognize that I'm predisposed to believe that it is.
Yes.
And there are people who will be swayed by this is all political argument, and this is political retribution. This is, all to try to keep Trump out of the White House.
Yeah.
And I
that's not the crowd that has to be clear for. Yeah.
My concern is that the Georgia stuff, and I'm all for him being indicted in Georgia. My hope is we're at 74 criminal counts right now. My hope is that we can get over 100, which I just think that'd be fun. you just want 100 indictments. You want there to be
100
criminal counts. I mean, we're at 74 now, and
that's okay.
Georgia and January 6th, you could get there.
Sure, you could get there. Might end up 500 short, but
thanks.
Sorry about that. I dragged you right back into 53 minutes ago, didn't I?
Yeah, thank you for that, Doug.
Sorry
but so I think this stuff's got to be airtight. It's got to be airtight, because we don't want to give them the you're playing politics with the judicial system.
Yeah. Well, and they will. So I think you're right. I think it's exactly the attitude we all need to have, because also for the good of us. Like we don't need.
Yes.
I'm thinking about my friend that I text with. There is no convincing him that this is not political. He is just certain of it. In fact, we go round and round where he's like, well, they didn't prosecute Hillary. And then I have to say to him, is your argument that Hillary Clinton was guilty of a crime and Donald Trump is guilty of a crime, but the problem is they didn't charge Hillary? Or is your argument they've charged Donald Trump with a crime that he didn't commit. Because when you bring up, well, they didn't charge Hillary, then I'm not sure what you're saying, right?
Yep.
So there's that, right? These are people you're not going to convince. They're absolutely certain that this has come. But the rest of us, we need to deep in our souls know, hey, there were no other options here. This is at least for me, because I do think that prosecuting any politician for the actions they took while they were in office. Now, I make a distinction. You know, I often joke that Donald Trump is such a criminal. He currently is charged with crimes from before he was president,
Yes.
after he was president, and soon crimes while he was president. And I actually think the crimes while he was president, which is going to be the January 6th election interference and the corrupt intent in Georgia cases, he was the sitting president of the United States when those things happen. And I do think that we need to have a higher standard of expectation of clarity of what the law is, when the law was broken, and what the consequence should be for someone who's in that office. Because we choose as a society to imbue that office with a lot of meaning. And we should just, now I'm not saying you should be above the law. I'm saying the law needs to take into account the conditions. And the condition, because that's what the law does all the time. So if someone thinks that, you know, somehow the law doesn't take these things into consideration, they most certainly do. Sometimes the law has taken circumstances into consideration in not good ways, like, oh, you're a person of a particular social location, therefore you're going to be treated worse in the political system, or other times you're going to be treated better. That happens. We have to all be clear, as we can possibly be, that Donald Trump's actions as president, as it relates to January 6th and it relates to Georgia, for us, not even to convince everybody else, but your average person, someone who thinks Donald Trump committed crimes, which I do, but they need to prove it. Like,
Yes.
truly, actually need to prove it. Now, when I see the indictments that I've already seen from New York and the pants in the box case, it's pretty clear to me, those are actually crimes. Like, it doesn't take a lot to read it and realize this is the statute, this is the crime. A prosecutor is going to always make a decision. Should we prosecute that crime in this circumstance and situation? That's something we also choose to give to the legal system, is some discretion on who's going to be charged. But I think you're right. And I think Fani Willis, there's no chance with her reputation she already has. Yabitz put up earlier that she has a strong reputation. And part of the reason she was elected to this role is because she's prosecuted a number of RICO cases, which are organized crime racketeering cases. She's got a lot going for her. She's not going to burn it down. I hope she's not going to burn it down. And then, Rob, I see what happened with Hunter Biden when he went to court 3 days ago or 5 days ago or whatever to plead guilty. And the judge asked the prosecutor from the government and the defense attorney, hey, are you guys clear on this thing about if he can be charged with any other crimes down the road? Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am, we are, sir. We are sure. And the other lawyer, the prosecutor, says, no, judge, we're not sure. Okay, how do they get to that point and not and not have an agreement? That's the kind of stuff that makes me nervous. Like, I want to grant a lot of credibility to all these people that they're going to do the right thing. They know what's up. And then you watch this stuff happen and you're like, are you kidding me right now?
Yeah.
I mean, how can you be that bad at this job when you are clearly not bad at this job? What is going on? So that's where my worry comes, is that, you know, people think something's there that's not there, and somehow the groupthink rolls so much stronger that they can.
And the other thing that we all need to keep in mind is that prosecutors make these kinds of decisions every day about whether they believe a crime happened versus whether they can prove a crime happened. And that's a big difference. Do I know this person committed this crime? Yes.
High level of confidence in that fact. Yes.
Yes. I mean, do we know Donald Trump did this? Yes.
Yeah. Heard him doing it.
Do I have the evidence to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt in a court of law? That's a different question. That's a different standard. And prosecutors, they don't go, we sure hope so. They're not.
Yeah.
They're not.
There's a lot of smoke. A lot of smoke. I know he lied to the American people. Convict him.
They're not Republicans, Republican Congress people on the Hannity show.
Yes.
Like, it's a higher standard than that. And the ones who take their jobs seriously, if they want to continue to be in those jobs,
yeah.
like they don't fly willy-nilly on whether or not they're going to be able to win a case.
Yeah, they're not supposed to. Yeah.
They're not throwing Hail Marys. Like
That's right. And they do use
if they do not believe that they can get a conviction, they will not bring an indictment.
Yeah.
They just won't do it.
And sometimes they're overly confident, but rarely are they overly confident. That's why in the federal system, especially,
it's more likely that they're overly cautious rather than overly confident.
And especially in the federal system, because in the federal system, I don't know what it is. It's an 80 or 90% conviction rate, meaning by the time it gets to charges have been brought, someone either pleads out, which again, I believe Donald Trump will, or they have enough evidence that they know a jury is going to side with them on that evidence, at a really high rate. But not always. Not always. And it doesn't take but one juror to give a nullification and to and look, if they go down the road on an actual trial on any of these charges, and you get a hung jury, meaning a juror that the jury can't agree, they're going to retry it. And if they get a hung jury, they're going to retry it. And they're going to retry it. And they're, unless some other, federal level, some other president can stop it, or at the state level, some other politician can stop it, they're not going to stop because there's one juror that they're they're going to be so deep in this. There is no getting out. And to your point, the reason they're cautious, there is so much on the line. I mean, these are people, I know that people talk about the deep state and these people are all corrupt and they're all evil and whatever. It's just not true. The idea that people who work for any justice department across the board are going to go into a prosecution that they think is, first of all, invalid and they likely can't prove is just so fanciful. It's just bonkers. And that's why I believe at some point, Donald Trump is going to face that same reality. His lawyers are going to say, let's go get a deal. And let's get a deal done because we've seen their evidence. We know our defense. You need to strike a deal. And that would be good for America.
And you're out of money. Well, I mean, at what point? I mean, we've already seen.
Is he ever out of money?
Like, at what point does he have to plead because he's just out of money? He can't,
yeah, that's okay. That's a good point. I hadn't really considered the fact that the well could dry up.
Yeah.
Huh. Well. It has dried up. Our time on this our time on this podcast. Hey, tomorrow y'all are in for a treat because if you watch this long, I know you're gonna like the rest of this stuff. We have a series of interviews and things that happened at a festival in North Carolina that are going to be part of the Common Good podcast tomorrow and Thursday, maybe even a special Friday edition. So lots of stuff coming. So tune in on those places, or if you listen to the audio version, we know we pushed you past your hour-long workout. But hopefully you're in the cool down stretching phase, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye, Robb Ryerse. Bye, Yabbits. Bye, Alex. Bye, Jim. We had a quiet day today. No real interlopers, and really not a lot from Facebook today. Quiet on the Facebook front.
I mean, they probably throttled us because we were encouraging people to take part in the class action lawsuit.
I think their AI is that smart, and they heard it.
Yep, they're like, got to pull this down.
Well, they did plead on that. They struck a deal with the government, and they willingly paid the money. So,
Ryan,
don't be Don't
Thanks
be
for
blaming
being a part of
us.
the conversation, Ryan.
Oh,
Jumping
look at
in
that.
right there at the end.
Ryan, a Facebook guy. Look at that. Hey, see y'all. Nice chat. Ryan, we will see you, Mr. Dior, later. What's this little thing? I something an American hero? I can't read it.
I don't know.
Some kind of American hero. All right. Thanks, Ryan, for joining us. Anybody? I guess we could keep babbling and just begging for people on Facebook to say hello to us. Is there anybody that could just write a comment? Just one more. Just fill an empty heart. Fill
Please, hello?
please. Anybody there? Anybody? Hello? All right. Bye.